Hello and welcome to episode number 49 of the Hobbies and Happiness podcast, where we talk all about the hobby that makes us happy, tabletop gaming. I'm your host, Dan.
And I'm Jim, and today we're talking with the creator of Spirit Duels, Daniel Miller.
Wait, Jim, I know you're talking to me. Oh, different Daniel, my bad. I got
Dan,
you.
This is why we don't hang out.
I got you. What? Dude, do you listen to this guy over here? Hey, what's up, everybody?
Oh, hey, guys.
Hey, guys. All right.
I didn't know you were here.
Yeah. Welcome to this episode. All right. So, first of all, before we get into this exciting episode, thank you for listening. We're on episode number 49, one away from 50. Ooh. What are we doing in episode 50? Don't know, but it's going to be pretty fun.
A giveaway.
Are we going to do a giveaway?
I don't know.
We might have some stuff to give away. You never know. But hey, thank you for listening, everybody. We really appreciate it. Give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, or leave us a like, subscribe to the video. You know, doing a video podcast is kind of interesting because we kind of hit two different audiences.
Yeah.
We hit the video people on YouTube and then the audio people. I think the podcast is a super interesting platform because now with the video podcast, it's really cool. So I enjoy being able to film these, and then also for the folks who just listen to this, I think it's very, very interesting. So again, if you're watching, don't forget you can listen, and if you're just listening, don't forget you can watch.
Yes.
Whichever way you want to consume this content, we got you covered. Speaking of getting you covered, Jim, We've got a sponsor for the episode today.
Yay! Hashtag sponsored.
Yeah. All right. So today's sponsor is Audible. Yeah, that's right. Audible.com. Did you know, Jim, that you can get a free trial of Audible, and you get a free 30-day trial, and you can get a free book.
Huh. I think I've heard that before.
A free audiobook. So what you do, if you head over to www.audibletrial.com/hobbies and happiness, that's right, audibletrial.com/hobbies and happiness, you can sign up for a free 30-day trial of Audible, and in signing up, you get one free audiobook that you can keep forever. That's right. If you don't use the trial, if you cancel at the end of the trial, you still get to keep that video. And you know what?
That book.
What did I say?
Video.
It is not a video. It is definitely a book.
It's an audio book.
It's an audio book. Guys, what are we doing here? Come on. So I got a great suggestion for you. Mm-hmm. Have you ever heard of the series We Are Legion? We Are Legion, also known as We Are Bob, the Bobiverse.
Okay.
Bobiverse is one of the best science fiction books that I'd ever listened to. So I had started listening to this series a few years ago, and essentially it is a science fiction series where there is the main character of the series. The way the series opens is he dies. The way it opens, and it's not a spoiler alert because it's literally like in the first chapter. So he dies, and then they keep his brain essentially, and carries him on into these artificial intelligences. And there turns out to be a lot of different Bobs. It is one of the greatest science fiction series that I have ever listened to / read on a book. You definitely need to check it out. It's called We Are Legion, We Are Bob. Check that out over on Audible. So again, sign up for your free 30-day trial over on www.audibletrial.com/hobbies and happiness. That's right. Check out that link. We'll leave links in the description so you guys can check that out. Today we have an exciting episode for you all. We sit down with the designer of Spirit Duels. Spirit Duels is a fast-paced card game of dice-driven combat. Lead a team of magical creatures known as spirits into battle against your opponent. Command and evolve your spirits to gain the advantage in combat and defeat your rivals. So at the moment, Spirit Duels is on Kickstarter. It is live on Kickstarter. And so when it launched, I believe, so when this podcast is airing, the Kickstarter launched about a week ago. So from the time it launched, it'll be on Kickstarter for 28 days. We love this game. We absolutely love this game so far.
It's so much fun.
Like the art style, the gameplay, there's so many things that are awesome about this game. And we got to sit down with the designer of the game and have a little chat. So without any further ado, let's just jump right in so we can get you guys to hear that conversation. Here you go.
I'm ready.
All right, so today on the podcast, we are talking with Daniel Miller, designer of the game Spirit Duels. Daniel, how are you doing today, sir?
Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm good.
All right. So we had the distinct privilege of testing out this game.
Yeah, we did.
And by the time this podcast is airing, we will have our video will be out, our how to play video. And we may or may not be doing some other videos of us playing the game because we want to be playing more of this game because it's pretty awesome. So we're excited to talk to the designer here. So Daniel, it's a treat having you. So thanks for coming on today. But before we get started,
Absolutely.
I want to know, dude, where did you get this idea? Where did this idea come from, man?
Yeah. So I kind of all started with the idea of I knew I wanted to launch something on Kickstarter. And by something, I mean, a game. Mm-hmm. So like, I specifically wanted to design a competitive card game, and I've been, over the course of many years, like messing around with prototypes and engines and all kinds of just little systems for board and card games. And when, Kickstarter kind of came on the scene, I was watching it and backing stuff. And, anytime like a small time, like publisher, like, someone like me would launch a project, I always felt like, dang, why ain't I doing this? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like I could be doing this. Why am I not doing it? I have ideas, and so I finally just said, you know what, I'm going to really, buckle down on something and this is what I want to do. So like the whole idea of Spirit Duels was like specifically tailored to the Kickstarter experience. I knew, up front that I wanted to design like a competitive card game, that's similar in play, like with what you would normally find with like a competitive or a collectible card game. But I knew I didn't want it to be a collectible card game because I was bringing it to Kickstarter. And, this was like almost 4 years ago, which is like before like the, collectible card game renaissance we're in right now. I feel like every week a CCG's launching on Kickstarter nowadays. Yep. But so when I started working on Spirit Duels, that was before all that. So I knew I knew that if only, just say 400-500 people, backed the project, regardless of how viral or how successful the project went, I wanted it for every person involved to have like a full, robust experience with the game, regardless of if there was this huge tournament scene or huge community out there for it, So like I knew I wanted this competitive style card game that that had the depth and layers and strategy of that you would normally find in a collectible card game without it being collectible. And like I also knew that I wanted it to be, inspired by Pokemon. I'm a huge Pokemon fan, Digimon, all that good stuff. So I knew I wanted it inspired by that. And anyway, so just in the early like conceptualizing of the whole entire thing, like I had those two ideas meet where like I'm a huge fan of limited formats. So like drafting, sealed, like I love that. And so I had this idea of like that one of the taglines now for Spirit Duels is draft is standard. So like the whole experience is built around like drafting,
Nice. Yeah.
So like I had this idea where, like at the beginning of each match, you would draft the types, but in Spirit Duels we call them classes. So you would draft fire, water, nature, so on and so forth. And then you would shuffle your deck together, kind of like, a shuffle builder, like Smash Up, if you're familiar with that.
Yep.
And so that's like the basic idea, that it was like this creature combat, game that you drafted these classes to quickly shuffle a competitive deck together and then have this, rich experience without both players needing a collection. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Very cool. there's a lot there.
Yeah.
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 That is a lot.
You answered quite a few of our questions, actually.
It's like, let's just start checking these
start
off.
checking these
All
off.
right, done.
So in talking about your inspirations for the game, you mentioned Pokemon, and I think Pokemon and Digimon are pretty clear inspirations. Like if you just look at the game and then start playing the game.
Yeah.
Did you have any other inspirations specifically in this game that you kind of thought about when you were designing it?
Yeah, so I like to say thematically it's inspired by Pokemon, right? But mechanically, it's more inspired by like Dice Throne or Destiny, especially Destiny. It owes a lot to Destiny. Dice Masters, card and dice games like that. And the reason why, I kind of went that route was I feel like this might kind of sound like a jab, but I feel like almost every competitive card game that's not designed in Japan is like, summon a creature onto the field that has power and toughness, rotate it 90 degrees to attack, and like, I knew I didn't want this, summon units to the battlefield that have 2 stats, swing to attack. I wanted something different, and as different all those games are, it's at the combat systems of those games, they're all kind of the same. And so, mechanically, yeah, that's kind of like the idea that's the route that I went with.
So what would you say is your favorite kind of Pokemon and or element?
Oh, my favorite kind of Pokemon? Man, I really like ground and ice types. My favorite specific Pokemon, the line, it would be the Flygon line. So Trapinch.
Ooh,
nice.
Yep.
I love Flygon,
that
man.
one.
I also love
Generation 3 is my
Dragonite.
favorite.
Yeah. Oh man, 3 is perfect. Yes. Yeah, I love it, man.
So in Spirit Duels, do you have a favorite favorite spirit line yet, or are they like all, or can you really pick one?
It's hard. It is hard because like each one I spend so much time, with those designs and those concepts, from like mechanically, like, their stats, their abilities, and then even like, the way they look. Me and Robert Schilling, which is he's my artist who, creates all the spirits. Like we spend a lot of time on each one, but if I had to pick one, most people who are familiar with me in the game, they know that the Topu line is my favorite, which I don't know. It's not in the demo, so it's the Wind Monkeys. Topu, Nimbun, and Mankutsu. Yeah.
But he's on the box, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, he is. I love those guys because when I chose wind as a class, like in Pokemon, it's flying would be the equivalent. Mm-hmm. But I went with wind, and I knew that like the flagship spirit of that class, I didn't want it to be a bird. Because that would just be, whatever,
Cliche.
boring. So I was like, what? Yeah, cliche, yeah. So I was like, what could I do? And I just had this idea of like a monkey riding around on a cloud. So anyways.
Yes. Speaking of art, the art is on point.
Yeah.
I love the art for this game.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, Robert Schilling did a fantastic job. I think, Jim, the first thing that you said you were like, this is adorable.
Yeah.
I want it.
Yeah, it was like I spent months like searching for like the perfect artist. Like it was a very long process. I don't know like, how often or how long designers are supposed to spend looking for an artist, but it was months, man. Like, like a lot of like money went into just like paying, tons of different artists to just like, hey, I think like the idea was like a fire Komodo dragon, and so many different artists did concepts for that. And Robert, when I saw his, I was like, this is it, dude. And that concept ended up being the fire T-Rex that we all know as Magmaros. So,
dude, that T-Rex looks legit.
He's a monster, dude.
Like I said, man, when Robert did it, I just knew that was it. So,
yeah, dude, that T-Rex, I'm like, I do not want to take this guy
As soon
off,
as I saw his name, I instantly just thought of Rampardos, which I believe is Gen 4 Pokemon. But, that's a different story.
yeah.
So, Daniel, I'm very interested in the design process, right? So, because I've never really had an in-depth conversation with any designer as far as like their process. And I'm very interested about it. So, like, was the process in designing this, was it very linear, or it seems like there was a lot of circular elements in it, where you're like, you just had an idea and then had to kind of flesh it out and then try something, see if it worked, revisit it, and then try it again, and so on and so forth. Can you speak to that a little bit as far as the design process?
Yeah, you just mean like just specific mechanisms and stuff inside of the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and where did a lot of these different ideas come from? Because as card game players, I mean, it seems like a lot of these are kind of like your take on different mechanics that a lot of us have seen in card games. But there's also some other different mechanics that are kind of new that I haven't really seen before in other games.
Yeah, it's just it's a process of like countless iterating, iterations, just like trying and like, when dice are involved, that's, very complicated and can be very stressful, but it's just, man, it's just trying stuff. And, sometimes so each class, there's 9 different classes in the game, right? And each class has its own unique class ability. So water, as soon as that idea was established in the game, water has always been the same, which was splash, turn your opponent's dice to any side. And so, like, using that, as idea as an example, like some things just like the first time I had the idea, I implemented it and it worked and it stayed throughout the entire process. But if you look at a class like Ice, for example, that whole entire class ability went through so many iterations and like our Wind, like right now, in the final game, Wind turns your dice to any side. So if you're having, problems with, your dice rolls, you can use Wind's class ability to lift up your dice, which allows you to fix them and turn them to sides you want them to show. But early on, there was like this idea, where you could shroud your spirits, which would, make them like kind of hidden from the opponent, so your opponent couldn't mess with their dice, and that was completely busted. So cross it off the list. It was totally busted. So cross that off the list. Never entertain that idea again. But sometimes you'd cross something off the list and then you'd go back to it. Or sometimes like my play testers would be recommending something and I'd be like, no, I don't think that's right. That's not really fitting the vision. But then, maybe a few months later, I'd be like, let's give this a shot. And then the moment I'd give it a shot, it was like, oh, yeah, this, you were right. Like, this is obviously what the game needs. So it's just trial and error, man. That's really all it is,
Right. One thing that I was very interested in is this concept of advantage and the advantage die, right? Yeah. It took me a minute. It took me a minute to get my head wrapped around it. But it's a very interesting mechanic, right? And so essentially the advantage is like, if you have advantage, okay, you're going first for that round. So, but in addition to that, there's this advantage die that's also involved. Can you explain for our viewers what that mechanic is? And then I'm not sure how you came up with that idea. Did you get that idea from anywhere? Or my assumption is you knew that there had to be something that set apart the first player Because I mean, for again, card game players, we always know that there's always an advantage to going first, right?
Yep.
Sure.
So can you talk about the advantage and the advantage die for a minute?
Yeah. So as convenient as it was for that mechanism to play a part in the first player, it was actually more about the way a round ended. And so, like, if you take, any kind of like turn-based game, like Ashes, right? Like Ashes. You guys are familiar with Ashes, right? Yeah, you are?
Yes,
okay.
Sir.
So, like Ashes, correct me if I'm wrong, it's been a while since I've played, but I think in Ashes, it's like a round ends if both players pass consecutively, right?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. I'm kind of losing y'all. So, okay, so it didn't really work with Spirit Duels very well because, just the way dice are and, at any given point you can just have dice out in your field. And it was just, kind of awkward, and again, Spirit Duels owes a lot to Destiny, and Destiny has this battlefield idea where players can claim the battlefield. And so I kind of, I knew that there needed to be some kind of tension between like who is going to end the round. And so at first there was this idea of caster cards. So you would have a caster, which is kind of like, again, using Ashes as an example, it's kind of like your Phoenix Born. It's like the person that is representing you, right? So a spirit caster is like the role you're playing in the game. So you actually had cards that were spirit casters, and each spirit caster would have their own unique ability. So like the fire spirit caster would, I can't even remember because it's been so long, but they would like burn your opponent's spirits or something like that. And only one person could activate their caster per round. So if I did it before you couldn't do it. But when I did it, I could no longer take action. So it's kind of the same thing that the advantage thing does now, but it was a little more complicated, if you will. And so, anyways, long story short, for a number of reasons, like I wanted to simplify that. And so I came up with like the idea of just like you're in the heat of battle, and there could be this opportunity where you kind of gain the advantage to better prepare for the next opportunity to attack. And so basically, like, if you know anything about the game, which many people listening to this won't know, but like, and I know you guys have played a few times, and I don't know how like y'all's games have ended, but when it's down to the wire and you have one spirit left and your opponent has one spirit left, like sometimes like all it comes down to is who gets to activate their spirit first. And so like that whole entire like decision of like, I'm gaining the advantage to ensure that I can act before you do it's huge. And like just alternating who goes first every round just did not work for that, because it was such a like strategic moment in the game. Like, I'm actually going to forfeit what I can do for the rest of this round to guarantee that I go before you next round.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
I like it.
I hope that answers the question.
Yeah. No, for sure.
The advantage die was in there because like not it I guess it's not always super important to a player that they go first. So if I don't care about going first, I might not care for the advantage. But the advantage die is kind of like that little cherry on top. Like, not only do I get to go first, but I can also add an extra die to my Magmaros that hits for 4 damage when he attacks. And that's huge. Like, that's a huge... Just having that third die on a Magmaros is like... You see what I'm saying? So now all of a sudden... It's like, are you going to gain the advantage or am I going to gain the advantage? Because it's important for both players. So... Anyways,
Jim, where would you, if you had the advantage die return, where would you normally put that bad boy?
All right. Let's say I had the level 3 Magmaros out. It's going on him. Yeah. Like, I'm hitting for 4, maybe, or I'm getting burned 3. Sign me up. Like,
Oh yeah.
And then if I get an X, I'm just like, all right, well, I have fire breathing, so I guess I'll get a burn 1 anyway, right?
Yep. Yep.
Boom.
If you have
That's
if you have it there, yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
I just love on your first match, you just rushed Magmaros. I just love that. It's awesome.
Well, like I was telling you earlier, it took me literally one turn to realize I have made a grave error. I really should have evolved.
He's
these
like,
spirits.
I got hit in the face for 4 damage.
Yeah, I had a pretty explosive turn where I'm zapping left and right. But then you evolve, and I'm like, you do what now? I have zero essence. I can. Okay, this turned from bad to worse very, very quickly. But hey, that's all about learning, right? At that moment, I'm like, at that moment, I really didn't care because I'm just enjoying learning the game, right? Yeah. I know I'm getting smacked in the face, but for science, right?
That whole first turn, I was
he's It's just a learning experience. Yeah, totally. Magmaros is just, he hits hard, but he's kind of easy to control. He only has 2 dice, so like, part of the nature of card games is you are subject to that, did you draw into the cards you need to control this fire-breathing T-Rex that's sitting in front of you? And if you didn't, then scoop, I guess.
But the thing in my mind is like, he's so strong. And even if Dan was able to control him like 3 times, I'd just be like, I have 5 cards in hand, meditate. Next one, meditate. Next one, meditate. And I'm just like, I'll get there. Yeah. I'll get there or try.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, okay, my priority is killing that thing. that is my priority. It's not about controlling it. It's about killing it at that point.
Yeah.
100%.
For sure.
Yeah. So, we're talking a lot about card games, right? And I kind of want to get into your history of card games here a little bit. So kind of what drove you into playing a lot of these card games? In talking to you, it sounds like you've played quite a bit, kind of like us. But what kind of got you into this genre of tabletop gaming, right? In card games, kind of what drove you to those?
Well, when I was a kid growing up, me and my brother owned, I think it was called Star Wars Duels. Are you guys familiar with Unmatched by Restoration Games?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So Unmatched is actually a restoration of Star Wars Duels. And, that's what Restoration Games does. So anyway, Star Wars Duels was this cool little miniatures skirmish game. You had like this board and you moved around Star Wars characters and, you attacked and all this kind of stuff. And
you could recreate the duels between like a Qui-Gon and Darth Maul and like all those battles in Star Wars, if I'm correct. Is that right? Because I remember seeing stuff like that.
Wow.
Yeah. There were little miniatures. You had clones and Yoda and all this. It was awesome. I was a kid when I was playing it. And then another game that I played when I was a kid, before I even knew like that tabletop gaming was like a thing, was a game called Heroescape. I don't know if y'all have ever heard of that, but it was like, it's like this cool, like, it's like you, before each game, you put it almost kind of like Legos. You had like these hexes that you would put together and you would build your whole entire like landscape that, again, it was like a miniatures combat game. So anyways, like, as a kid growing up, I was playing those kind of games. Eventually, my brother-in-law now, just my, at the time he was just my girlfriend's brother. He got me he introduced me to Magic the Gathering, which, like changed my life. And I loved Magic, man. Like I'll never forget, dude, like the first time I ever went.
Doesn't it change everybody's lives?
Yep. The first time I ever went into my local game store, I walked up to the counter and I wanted to buy a starter deck, right? Because, I was a little noob, right? I didn't know anything else about the game. I just wanted to get a starter deck. And, I don't even know if they do starter decks anymore, but then they would do, you had a starter
they
deck.
do.
And then your starter decks. Okay. Your starter decks had 2 booster packs in them, right? the store owner was just opening all the starter decks to get those booster packs.
Yeah.
And so he just had a stack of like he had a stack of those the shrink wrapped starter decks just sitting around. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, "Can I get a starter deck?" And he was like, "Well, I've opened them all up to get the booster packs out, so you can actually have this one for free."
Wow.
And so he gave it to me for free, and I was like, get this. I was like, really? Are you sure? And he looked at me and he said, "You'll be back." And like,
dude's
I was
genius.
sad,
Genius.
yeah, he said, "You'll be back." And, the rest is history.
That's hilarious.
Wow.
Yeah, so I've told this story plenty of times before on the podcast, but the way that I got into it was going into my LGS because I looked before I went, and they were doing welcome decks, which is welcome decks is what they still do, right? The welcome decks are free.
Okay.
You just go in and LGS just give them to you. So I'm like, hey, I heard there's this thing called welcome decks. Do you happen to have any? Sure do. Here you go.
Yep.
So I picked up a couple of those, and then a couple weeks later, I think I built my first deck and came in for FNM. So yeah. So yeah, and after that experience, how many times have you been back for Magic?
Oh man, yeah, I ended up working for him. So
that's like you, right?
Yeah, I ended up.
Yeah,
I know. Like, yeah, he got me, man. Hook, line, and sinker. Yeah, I ended up working for him. And yeah.
That's so funny.
Love that place, man. Yeah. So
what was can we give a shout out to that LGS? What's the name of that LGS?
Moxie Games in Columbus, Georgia.
All right, Moxie Games. All right, good job, Moxie Games. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So what, Daniel? What year was that? So I'm curious as to what was in standard at that time.
Yeah.
That's what I want to know.
Okay, so I'm not sure what year it was, but I know it was the RTR block, Return to Ravnica.
Return to Ravnica. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Very, very cool. Very nice.
So I'm young, so I wasn't like one of these like I wasn't playing in the 90s or anything. So
yeah, we're the same. I mean, I got in around Dominaria.
Yeah, it started what 7 years ago. Yeah, Kaladesh is when I really started.
Okay.
So all right. So we've got Magic. What is there another? So we've talked about Magic. We've talked about Pokemon. Are there any other card games that kind of stick out for you in growing up? Anything else that really had an impact on you?
I mean, growing up, like as a kid, I played a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! I collected Yu-Gi-Oh! I collected Pokemon. After Magic, like more in my college days, I played a lot of 40K. And then, I got real into FFG, Fantasy Flight Games. I was playing Arkham, all that good stuff. And then I'm trying to think, man, like, I was real big into some of the LCGs like L5R, all that good stuff. Ashes. So yeah, I feel like I'm missing something, but I don't know.
I feel
I got
like
really
I'm
big into
always missing
Hearthstone.
Something. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah,
I got really big into
counts.
Hearthstone. Yep. And when Legends of Runeterra dropped, I played it. So I just try to like play everything.
Dude, we're just hitting everything, man.
Yeah,
everything.
we're hitting everything.
Yeah. If it's cards, I played it.
Dude, I think if we had a motto, that would probably be our motto.
Yeah.
If it's a card game, we're on it. We played it. We love it. We're on it. All right. I do want to ask you. So when it comes to card games, right? We know in card games there's so many different mechanics in card games out there. A lot of them are great. A lot of them are good mechanics. Some of them are okay. And I feel like a lot of them are. Probably the majority of them are all subjective. Like some people like them, some people hate them. I want to know.
Like dice.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of dice and card games. I think the first time I played a card and dice game, I think probably either would have been Dice Throne or Dice Masters, one of those two. But it's very interesting to me because I'm like, these two things are I feel like they're diametrically opposed, right? Because with card games, I'm normally into constructed formats, right?
I want it to be as consistent as possible, and then we're like, "Here's a die." I'm like,
"No!"
Come on, man.
But then I start playing it. I'm like, "Okay, this is actually really fun.
Yeah,
this is a lot of fun." Right.
Yeah.
So when it comes to card games in particular, do you have any favorite mechanics in card games, like when it comes to Magic or any card game at all?
To nail down like a specific mechanic is pretty tough.
Yeah.
I know so we're talking a lot about Magic, right? So I know like with Magic, I love red and white.
Boros, nice.
So my first, like I was saying, I started playing RTR. So my first deck was a Boros deck.
Pretty much mine too. Pretty much. We're gonna.
Yep. So I don't know, man. I like. You guys familiar with Keyforge?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So I loved the Sanctum.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like just kind of like white, the knights and angels and lifelink, flying, all that good stuff. I'm kind of more of a holy player.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, that concludes the interview today, guys. Have a good one.
That was the first class that I played on Hearthstone.
Yeah,
Like a lot of my decks were
for priest.
Yeah, the priest.
Yeah.
Yeah, the priest decks.
Priest,
yeah.
paladin.
Dragon
Paladin's
Priest,
another.
man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Dragon Priest. That was a deck, dude.
Yeah.
That was a deck that I played, and I freaking loved it.
Yeah.
And then I think I played it like years later. I'm like, okay, this is actually not very good anymore. I don't know what happened.
Yeah. The only reason I'm saying
that rotation killed you.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only reason I'll say that is because I'm a huge Grixis player myself, so pure evil, essentially.
Yep.
Right? So.
Pure evil.
Yeah, but he's a big fan of Nico Bolas over here.
Yeah. The biggest bad guy in the game.
Okay.
Yeah. So, all right. So we had a couple of specific questions that kind of came up that we wanted to ask you here. Jim, what was that first one you had about the resolutions?
Oh,
I believe?
yeah. So when me and Dan were playing around, the Shark one that activates when an opponent activates theirs.
Flitfin, I believe. Flitfin, I believe. Yes. Sir.
Okay.
Flitfin.
Now,
Yep.
do I roll my dice before Dan rolls his dice? So, like, does my card or action have to fully resolve before other ones can?
Yes. Things have to fully resolve, like as if there was some kind of stack. Yeah, they would resolve. So, like Jim, if you were playing Flitfin, and Dan was playing, or I guess it was opposite, right? So Dan was playing Flitfin, and you were playing Tai Chomp. So let's say you activate Tai Chomp, you exhaust Tai Chomp, roll his dice, and after those dice hit the table, then he in response can trigger Flitfin, rotate him, roll his dice in, and now it's Dan's action.
Okay.
So say, if he hits those magic sides, he could immediately, turn your dice or zap you or attack or whatever. So yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
So the Flitfin player activates and rolls Flitfin's dice after in this case the Tai Chomp player
After
does
that
his,
activation,
yes. After that one's completely resolved. Got it.
So then it would also work the same way for any card that states after you play an Earth card or an Electric card, you have to fully resolve that one card before the Pawn Knight can kick in or the Electric Cat. I forget its name.
Banks. That's right.
Banks, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So in talking about Magic specifically, that's kind of counterintuitive. That goes the opposite way of what we would normally think. But that's not totally abnormal either, because in a lot of deck builders, for example, DC deck building game, if there's any triggering effects, it's you fully play and resolve the action and card that you do first before anything else triggers.
Yeah.
Or before any triggers resolve, I should say. So that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
And
it's real cut and dry with Spirit Duels because it's just I take an action, you take an action. That's not like you playing this, and then I'm going to play my blue card to stop you from doing this, and then you're going to give your guy protection from blue. Like, it's just like you go, I go. But there are a few triggers, after you do this or before you do this. And really, you just do exactly what the card says. So if Pawn Knight says after you play an Earth card, then it happens after you play it. And play there means you play it and you resolve it.
Got it.
That's it.
That's my favorite thing about card games.
Yeah.
Dude, just do what the card says, man.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I've told that to people. Like, I've played cards games with my wife, and she asks this question, like, well, what does it do? Well, did you read the card?
Kind of.
Card gamers, they overthink things. So
this is true. Very true.
Yeah, I mean, it's just in our nature, man. Like, it's the way we're wired.
Yeah,
so.
and a lot of and whenever I'm overthinking something, or when someone else is overthinking something, my normal response is just, okay, hang on, let's take a step back, stop, read the card.
Yeah.
And then they're like, okay, yeah, all right. I mean, that's what the card says. But if you think about it this way, I'm like, bro, dude, like if you're doing that, then that's a little too much there.
One other question I did have. So there were some cards that were like remove an opponent's die, and then I believe it was change one of my dice, right? If let's say Dan didn't have any dice out, would I still be able to play the card even though he didn't have one in order for me to change one of mine? Or would I have to have that initial target?
So that's actually a more complicated question, and again, it determines, that's determined on how the card's worded. So, like when you're resolving a card, you do as much of the card as you possibly can in the order it's written. So let's just say there were two sentences on the card. Remove an opponent's die. Yeah. Well, like let's just say it says remove an enemy die and then force an enemy to discard a card.
Yeah.
So you would do both of those things, right? But let's just say, like in your case, I know what card you're talking about. It says remove an opponent's die, then yes, then comma turn one of your dice to a side showing magic.
Yep.
The key word there is then. So if you cannot first remove one of his dice, you can't proceed to do the following text. Does that make sense? So like there's a big card in the game called Mind Control.
So the fact that there's a period there doesn't matter. It's the keyword then is what we're looking at.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's a bit of a lag, but there's a big card in Arcane called Mind Control. I think in y'all's prototype copy it may be called Mystic Mirror, but it's recently been renamed. But it's called Mind Control, and so it's a 0-cost card, and it says remove an ally die, then remove an enemy die. So the whole idea of the card is the actual cost of the card. It's a free card to play, but the actual cost of the card costs you one of your dice, and in return, you get to remove an enemy die. So you couldn't just choose not to remove one of your dice to get rid of one of your opponent's dice for free.
Or if you don't even have one to get rid of, then you can't even play the card. Makes sense.
Bingo.
Makes sense.
Right,
That's
makes
it.
Sense. Yeah. Okay. So, and we've talked about this on a few other games, but if where would be the best place to get rulings questions like we have? One of the things that I noted to Jim, like as we're sitting here playing it, I've got my laptop right here. I have Discord pulled up. I've got my Discord chat with Daniel pulled up. All right, we got a question. All right, let me get over here. All right, so the designer says this. I'm like, this is actually pretty sweet. We need to do this more often.
Right.
But where would be a great place for people to get rulings questions? I assume the best place would be like a forum like BGG, for example, or I'm not sure if you have anything else in mind.
The fastest way would be our Discord server. So we have our own Discord server. You can find a link to that on our website, which is just spiritduels.com. So we have a whole channel in the server dedicated for rules questions. And I've got my notifications turned on, so as soon as you ask it, I'm there, buddy. I'm there. So
yeah, and we
have a BGG
we'll make sure to
page.
leave links of all those.
Oh yeah.
in the description here. That way, if anybody wants to join that Discord, definitely hop on in, meet other people in that community. So we'll make sure to leave links in our description as well.
Unintentional plug there.
Yeah. Unintentional. Yeah. So, we're enjoying Kickstarter. Yeah.
We're also enjoying Kickstarter.
It's a great platform.
It is. So what kind of has been your experience with Kickstarter so far? Has it been kind of a smooth process getting? Because I know when we're talking, when we are recording this episode, the Kickstarter launches tomorrow. Okay, when this goes live, the Kickstarter will have been out for about a week or so. So up to this point, how has this process kind of been? Has it been pretty smooth, or I have no idea how this process works, and I'm very interested to understand how it works for a creator.
It's a lot. I mean, it's a full-time job that doesn't pay. So, and that's really just designing a game, really. So like you were saying, we launch at the time of this recording, we launch the Kickstarter tomorrow. So as far as like my hands-on experience with Kickstarter goes, I actually haven't gotten there yet. But leading up to it, other than just, designing the game, but like specifically preparing a project or product to be launched on Kickstarter, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of like a lot of social media stuff, building a community, building an email list, all that kind of stuff consistently, like putting out content and, on Instagram or BGG or whatever, your platform of choice is, but yeah, it's a lot, man. And the logistical side of it's crazy, so like getting in touch with manufacturers and getting quotes and getting in touch with fulfillment centers, getting those quotes and comparing these quotes to that quote and, how much is freight right now. And then you just go ahead and just dump COVID on everything. And you're like, oh, okay. I picked the perfect time for this.
Yeah. I don't know why you're going to infect stuff with COVID. Like, I don't get it.
Yeah. Oh, dude. So like I started designing Spirit Duels, late 2018, early 2019, started posting about it late 2019 and was going to like launch the project in 2020. And so then COVID hit. And like that threw me off because like my whole strategy was like I was going to start taking the game to my local game stores and all this kind of stuff. And like I couldn't do that anymore. So just anyways, it messed the whole thing up. And so like freight, like I started getting quotes from freight that was like $20,000. And I'm like, dude, it doesn't even cost that much to print the game. Like, wow. So, luckily all that's calmed down. And so, yeah.
Right.
It's been a crazy experience.
Yeah, I can imagine. I'm kind of curious. Do you have any surprises in store for the Kickstarter? Any like surprise classes or spirit lines?
Or maybe information on what poison does?
Yeah. So there are a few surprises. We've got a few like hidden stretch goals that will be kind of revealed as we go through the campaign. There are more classes planned for expansions. There's 3 new classes planned to be released, given that the game is a success, and we can keep working on it. There's 3. There'll be a total of 12 classes. 2 of those have kind of been spoiled in our Discord server, but I'm not going to mention them. Like if you're really curious, you can go dig.
You can go join the Discord server.
Yeah, you can go join the Discord server. But
wink.
Yeah. But the layout of like the roster of spirits is very, very tight. Like each class has 3 different spirit lines, and each spirit line is a very specific combination of classes. So, to add any kind of like extra spirits or anything would kind of break that whole entire equation. But you know, this whole world of Spirit Duels, we've worked a lot on it, and I have a lot of ideas for this world. And again, you know, like if we have a good campaign and it's a success, not only do like I want to release expansions for Spirit Duels, but you know, even other games inside this world. So yeah, I've got a really cool idea for like an RPG style LCG card game that kind of plays similar to the Pokemon RPGs.
Yeah.
So
Sign me up.
Sign me up too. I'm in.
Yeah.
Pokemon LCG.
Yeah.
Yes.
Basically, yeah.
Sounds awesome.
You adventure around, you form bonds with spirits and build your team, level them up, and it's a whole like RPG style experience. So that's actually in the works now. So
Wow.
Sweet.
Yeah.
That sounds legit.
Wow.
I know.
Stay tuned.
And it's solo. So yeah.
And it's solo.
Okay. All right. Is it strictly solo or solo can be played co-op?
No.
Got it.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Got it. Cool. All right. Well,
But real quick,
yeah.
any word on poison? Any word?
Yeah, sure.
Has it already been spoiled?
do we know?
Or has it been officially released or leaked? Whatever you want to say.
What exactly do you want to know? Like what the class ability is?
Yes. What do the poison counters actually do?
Yeah, what do the poison counters
We know
do?
there's poison counters, but what do they do?
Okay. So, the reason why you guys don't know what it does is because it's still like in internal playtesting.
Yeah.
So it's not that it's a secret, but what I'm about to say is subject to change.
Okay.
Flashing
But
lights.
what it does right.
Flashing lights.
Yeah, subject to change. Yeah. So what it does is it adds a damage tax to your dice. So if your spirits are poisoned and you want to resolve their dice, they first are dealt damage. So you can't. Yeah. So a poisoned spirit can't even resolve its dice without first taking damage. So
Wow. Does that stack to 3?
it does.
Oh my goodness! No!
God damn.
No!
I'm out.
I'm head
That's
out.
all I needed. Now I really can't wait for fire poison.
Fire poison?
I can't wait.
Fire poison, dude. Yep.
So okay. Last thing. I swear, last thing. The multi-class abilities, like the multi-class creatures or whatever. How are you gonna like try? Are you gonna do like a multi-class of every combination?
Oh, I'd love to.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
I'd love to.
That'd be sick.
Right? Yeah. I mean, yeah. I'd love to do. I'd love to do it all right now. So if you pay super close attention, like right now, there's 3 roles in the game: damage, control, support. Each class has at least one pairing of, the roles. So like wind is a support class,
Right.
So you've got the pure wind spirit, which is Topu. And then the other 2 spirit lines are going to be a damage pairing and a control pairing.
Gotcha.
But in future expansions, there'll be like pairings that share roles. So like you've got water and arcane, which are both control classes.
Yeah.
And you'll have a water arcane spirit, which is like, double control, double blue.
Yeah.
Arcane ice. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Arcane ice.
I
Yeah.
like that one.
man. That'll be sweet.
Yeah.
Ooh. All right.
Super male.
Yeah.
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 All right. So that's Spirit Duels, guys. We are super stoked. We are super excited for this game. We're honestly, I just can't wait to just keep playing some more. and then I can't wait to get the full production copy.
Yeah.
Honestly. So, all right. So we are going to move on to our segment entitled Card of the Week.
Yay.
Daniel has been so kind as to join us for this week's edition of the segment. So I'm kind of excited. This is our first guest who's been on this actual segment, and so Daniel actually chose this card of the week. So before I talk about it, Daniel, you mind telling everybody what the card of the week is and what game it's from too?
Yep. So a bit of a caveat before I say what it is. I told Dan, I was like, this card is totally boring, but it's personal for me. Okay. So it's from Magic the Gathering. It's a little white card known as Pacifism.
Boo!
Yeah.
I don't like the card. The reason I don't like it is I think one of the first times I played like limited or sealed, I'm like, the first time I saw that card, I'm like, I have a big beater on board, like a 6/6 beater. Yep. I'm getting ready to attack with it. My opponent, Pacifism. Like, you're what? What? Now I can't do literally anything with this card that I spent all this mana and all this investment into doing?
That's what you get for playing green, Dan.
I don't like you, Jim.
Get good.
Okay, just stop.
That's it.
Yeah. So Daniel, so I'm gonna go ahead and read the card real quick. So Pacifism is an enchantment aura, costs 1 and a white. It says enchant creature. Enchanted creature can't attack or block. Yeah. So Pacifism is like a staple in pretty much all limited formats. In about every set, like every block, there's always Pacifism in there. So anytime you're playing a lot of limited formats, you're gonna see if somebody's playing white, they're most likely they've got Pacifism in their deck. To be quite honest, to be quite honest with you. So for only 2, it's a pretty good effect, especially when you're essentially stopping a 7 mana threat for only 2 mana that can now literally do nothing. That's a pretty good effect. So Dana, I'm curious. I would love to hear this story. So why is Pacifism personal to you?
Yeah. So like we were saying earlier, Boros was like my first, experience with Magic. I came in playing in the RTR block. Red white was super appealing to me, so I started building a Boros deck. Total noob, right? I knew nothing about the game. I was just playing kitchen table with my brother and some friends. So like no like net decking or hyper competitive thing going on. Like I'm fresh, right? And I'm putting together this Boros deck, and like I'm just like wrecking all my buddies. But I noticed like the weakness of my deck was like, if my opponent filled up their board too much, like I couldn't get attackers in. Like this is what my little new brain was telling me. And so I was like, I need a way to be able to just swing through anything they summon. Like I need to be able to pacify their creatures. And boom, Pacifism was right there. And so anyways, like Pacifism was like my perfect answer to get my attackers through. And I remember like, man, I'll never forget, like we were playing one night, kitchen table, nothing serious, nothing competitive. And, we were all huddled around the table, and it was me and, my opponent we were playing. And I had played this card so much that I knew what the flavor text was. And my opponent was sitting across the table from me, and he had Pacifism in his hand. And I guess he was just kind of messing around, and he read the flavor text off. And I was like, you got Pacifism in your hand. And I know it. And everybody around the table just did. It was that reaction. They were like, whatever. So, yeah, I know.
That's hilarious. But honestly, that's a perfect example of a strategic card game player.
Yeah.
Getting the advantage from their opponent, just reading cues and watching them and seeing what they do and gathering
it's
information.
It's like poker, man.
100%. 100%. And honestly, all professional level Magic players will tell you it's the same concept. It's part of the game, but it's playing the man. You got to play to them. Sure. You have to watch them, get as much information as you can from your opponent. Yep. That is a perfect example. Example of that.
You know what I love about this story? So when he was playing his Boros list, he's like, all right, how can I get it to where I can deal more damage? He was thinking about it in terms of creatures getting in and doing more damage. For me, it was pretty much the same, but I'm like, okay, I don't really think I need to do it with creatures. What other spells can I get that also then deal direct damage? So
Lightning
just going
bolt.
exactly,
Yep, lightning bolt.
going over the top, not even trying to worry about the creatures, but like still that exact same mindset of like Boros or aggressive players. It's like I need to get this somehow. So very cool.
And it's very cool because like now we're talking about we're thinking about the end goal, right? The same end goal, but now we're thinking about coming at it from completely different aspects of the game entirely. Yeah. So that is very, very cool. So pacifism. Don't read the flavor text, guys.
Don't read any flavor text ever.
Don't read it.
Never read your flavor text.
Don't read it. So all right. All right. So that is our interview with Daniel. So Daniel, thank you very much. We had a lot of fun with that. So before we get out of here, Daniel, where can people find you on the internet?
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me on. It's super, super pleasure. Like, I totally enjoyed it. You guys are awesome. Love y'all's content. So anytime y'all want me back, I'm here, man.
You got it.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Oh, no, you go right ahead.
The floor is yours.
The floor is yours.
Yeah. So I'm not super on social media other than like, what I do with Spirit Duels. So you can find us on Instagram at Spirit Duels, our website, spiritduels.com, Facebook, Spirit Duels. So just Google search Spirit Duels and we'll be there.
Go to the Discord, guys. 100%.
100% go to the Discord. And you'll probably see us there too.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, Daniel, thank you very much. We had a blast and can't wait to talk to you again.
Right on, man.
All right. So, I can't wait for Spirit Duels. Can you?
I'm excited.
Yeah. Yeah. So we are looking forward to that game for sure. And guys, definitely go check it out. We will make sure we leave links to the Kickstarter in the description of the podcast and the video so you guys can go check it out. And as well, definitely check out the Discord server for Spirit Duels as well. Well, if you ever got any questions, I guarantee you Daniel will be right there to answer them for you guys. So with that, it's kind of weird because we start to do the card of the week, but we already did it with our guests, so that was pretty sweet. I'm looking forward to doing more of those with future guests as well. So that's what we got for this week. Jim, where can people find you on the interwebs?
Yeah, you guys can find me on Twitch, Instagram, and Twitter at Jim Morgan HNH.
You can find me on Twitter at _DG Campbell and on Instagram at daniel.g.campbell. And then head on over to our website, www.hobbiesandhappiness.com. You can find links to all of our social platforms there, and as well as links to our podcast and pretty much everything on our site there. So go check that out. So that's all we got for you this week. Can't wait for next week. And we've got a pretty exciting guest list that's not yet finalized, but I'm still excited about it anyway for the future. So stay tuned. So thanks, everybody. Catch you in the next episode. See you, everybody.
Take care.